Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, August 6th, 2020, and today I'm going to be taking a look at what I like to call the Trump effect on the Electoral College map. So essentially, in 2016, Donald Trump was able to move a number of states to the right and to the left, largely because of the fact that he was a very polarizing figure and that he was able to, push away some moderate Republicans while winning over Obama and, Kerry and Gore voters in the Rust Belt and other parts of the country. So I'm only going to be doing this in the states that were decided by less than 10%. So this is around 18 states and congressional districts because Nebraska 2nd is included. Other than that, the rest of the states I'm pretty much going to leave the same because they are safe for each political party and really don't need too much to discuss. There will be one, I guess you could say, honorable mention, and that is Maine's 2nd congressional district, given how much it's, swung from 2012 to 2016. Other than that, we're going to be staying within the 10% constraint because I don't feel it's necessary to move past that. So we're going to probably go in alphabetical order, but we're also going to use certain ratings. So when we look at some of these states, if it's a very drastic swing, I'll use safe and then move down to likely, lean, and then tilt. I'll put the actual ratings once we actually get to the comment section, and then you can go ahead and see that. But looking at the number of states that were decided by less than 10%, it's a very significant portion of the electorate. I'm actually going to characterize the amount of electoral votes, and then we'll move on from there. So this includes the states of Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, Maine. I guess you could say Maine at large. And then, like I said, I'm going to be including Maine's 2nd district, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska's 2nd district, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Mexico, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, Virginia, and Wisconsin. That's 230 electoral votes. Essentially, in order for a candidate to win without any of these states, they would need to carry the remaining states on this map and cannot afford to lose many in that scenario. And obviously, that's not going to happen. This is the same map with California and Indiana. And, Indiana's going red while California is absolutely going blue. So when we look at these 230 electoral votes, we need to see what Donald Trump did in order to win the majority of these electoral votes in 2016. So Donald Trump was able to carry all of these states except for Minnesota, New Hampshire, Maine, Virginia, New Mexico, Colorado, and Nevada. The rest all went to him, and by pretty substantial margins. So he saw a drastic change from 2012 to 2016, and that makes sense. Donald Trump was a one-in-a-lifetime candidate, as was Barack Obama, George Bush, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush. These were all traditional politicians that we expected. Just because they were charismatic did not mean that they were all of a sudden life-changing for a lot of these political parties. Whereas Donald Trump, a lot of Republicans, even past Donald Trump's possible defeat or possible re-election, will still consider themselves to be Trump Republicans. Will take a lot of the words that he said, a lot of the ideologies that he's put forth on this country, and say that's how they would identify in the future. Despite Donald Trump being hated by the majority of the country, maybe not hated, but disliked by the majority of the country, I think many members of the Republican Party will start to put Donald Trump up with the likes of Ronald Reagan, referencing him 50 years from now as to someone they look up to. And that largely could do with the fact that Donald Trump has a very large following nationwide. A lot of people really seem to love his policies and really seem to love him in the White House, whereas, that 55% of the country is a little bit shaky and disapproving of how he's serving. So we probably won't see him move any of these states further left, further rightward in 2020 if the race stays at its current trajectory. But we're going to go ahead and just take a look at this. Actually, I do want to include another honorable mention. That is the state of Utah, because Mitt Romney is very notable in terms of his non-support for President Trump, and also the 2016 election results were a clear indicator that a lot of Republicans there are very unhappy with President Trump. That's the largest third-party vote share in any state was Utah, 21% for Evan McMullin in 2016. So let's take a look at this map. 236 electoral votes. Again, we're starting in alphabetical order. Arizona, this is actually a state that I would say moved pretty significantly leftward. This is a state that moved down from being nearly a double-digit margin for Mitt Romney over into being a 4-point margin for Donald Trump. Now, it was still a victory, and it wasn't too drastic of a swing that I move it outside of the lean characterization, but you also have to realize that Arizona moved leftward because Donald Trump turned off a lot of these Republican voters, a lot of these Mitt Romney and McCain voters that were all solid for the GOP in the House, in the Senate, on the presidential level until Donald Trump, and also with a number of changing demographics, him driving up turnout in certain states amongst minority groups, and in a sense that they were voting against him by pretty significant margins, really moved this state along with some others to the left. So Arizona goes to the Democratic Party, I guess you could say, not Democratic Party, but more blue because of Donald Trump. As for Colorado, in 2016, this state did move a little bit further to the left. However, we're starting to see in this map, this isn't based purely off the 2016 results, we're starting to see Colorado move over from being a swing state into being, a likely or even safe Democratic state. I'm only going to characterize it with the lean characterization just because of the fact that Donald Trump probably and Republicans in the future will make a play for Colorado. And also this state was already characterized as likely for Hillary Clinton in 2016. It only ended up being a lean state. However, Colorado still went to Hillary Clinton by 5%. I expect Joe Biden to do much better than her, and he is polling 18% over Donald Trump in this state. Absolutely moves to the left, largely because Donald Trump is losing his grip on these type of, more center-right voters that are fine with voting for a Democrat one time. But I'm not going to move it into the likely Democratic characterization. I don't think it'll be safe. It could be if the race gets worse for Donald Trump, but for right now, I would only consider it likely. So it's only moving over one characterization. And also the percentage-wise, I don't actually expect it to be a 17-point margin statewide. It could be possibly 11, 12%, but right now the ballpark seems to be a 9, 10-point victory, which only moves it over around 4 or 5% compared to 2016. So moving on to the next state, Florida. So Florida, I'm actually going to keep with the around the same characterization. I understand Obama carried it, then Trump carried it, but this is a typical swing state. Not much actually changed about the state itself. It didn't become redder because of Donald Trump. It was only a 1-point margin for him, and Obama carried this, I believe, by 3% in 2008. So this state has always been close. It's always going to be close. It's 29 electoral votes, soon to be 31. It's always going to be contested. I don't think much has changed because of Donald Trump. There's very minimal, a very minimal difference from where it was just 4 years prior to 2016. As for Georgia, I think Georgia actually joins the states such as Arizona and Colorado as states that have moved a little bit more leftward. I know the margin was still minimally increasing for Hillary Clinton, but also the margin of victory for Donald Trump also was a pretty significant decrease from previous Republicans, Bush, McCain, Romney. And if we look at statewide races, they have become super competitive. And that largely has to do with the fact that Donald Trump, again, is turning off a lot of those white voters in the suburbs of Atlanta. Suburbs of major cities across this country are turning bluer, party registration-wise, in terms of the way that they're polling, in terms of the way they voted 2 years ago. So Donald Trump is losing his grip on these suburban voters, these suburban white voters that were crucial to his election in 2016. But that's, again, a topic for another video. So Georgia goes to the I guess not to the Democratic Party, but is a bluer state based off comparison. And looking at Iowa, this state absolutely got more, rightward. This largely had to do with the fact that Donald Trump was able to appeal to the white working class. He completely improved off of previous Republican margins in these states enough to actually win. They were always competitive, but if we're comparing it to McCain and Romney, he did substantially better. And also, if you look in the margins for Bush, Donald Trump actually got roughly the same percentage-wise just because there were third-party candidates and they were taking away from both candidates, but he definitely moved these states a little bit further to the left, a little bit further to the right, might I add, on the presidential level, maybe not so much on the Senate and governor level, but again, only time will tell. So Iowa, likely a Republican characterization. Maine, I think, also did move to the right. I do think that Maine's at-large and 2nd District actually pretty significantly moved. It became super competitive in a state that hasn't been competitive for quite some time. And, I will say that Donald Trump did very well in the Northeast, did very well in the Rust Belt, was able to flip a lot of these white Obama voters, these working class voters that landed Obama victory both times and actually voted for Democrats for decades and then all of a sudden voted for Trump. He had something different, and he offered that to the people in Maine, to the people in New Hampshire, to the people in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, making all of these states competitive, if not Trump states. But we can move past Maine. There isn't too much to talk about there. It's only 3 electoral votes that I'm characterizing. Michigan, I would say Michigan and actually we'll just get the Rust Belt out of the way. Wisconsin and Pennsylvania all moved to the left. All moved to the right. Obama had, at point in time, larger than 10-point margins in all 3 of these states. Had a pretty substantial victories in Michigan, 17 points, I think, in 2008. Then, of course, carried it in 2012 in all 3 of these states. I will say that it is pretty surprising to me still that Donald Trump was able to carry these states. Again, it seems very baffling that in an area with a lot of white working class voters, that a billionaire was able to appeal more to these voters than Hillary Clinton. Really attests to how bad Hillary Clinton was as a candidate and how the lack of attention these states received really ended up against the Democrats' favor on Election Day. So Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, I would say move to the right because Donald Trump is one of the only candidates, Republican candidates, that could actually win these states, but I don't think it's enough to shift the politics too drastically nationwide. We talk about these states flipping, and we talk about Iowa and how it probably won't flip. We talk about Maine's 2nd district, how it probably won't flip, but those 3 states absolutely could flip because they only narrowly moved over in favor of the Republican Party. Minnesota also joins the bunch. I would say this one actually moved to the right as well, but for the same reasons as the rest. Nebraska's 2nd actually moved further leftward. I know it's a little surprising. Mitt Romney got 52% of the vote here. Donald Trump only got 47%. The Democratic vote share stayed the same, but if we're talking about a decrease in Republican votes, they likely will be voting for a more likable Democratic candidate this time around, which I absolutely think Joe Biden will do very well in this state. For the state of Nevada, I think Nevada is pretty interesting. Donald Trump was able to narrow down the margin from 2012, but I do think that this state has stayed around the same. I still expect Joe Biden to carry this state actually by a likely margin, but I don't think that's necessarily directly from Donald Trump. The Democratic Party has also spent a lot of money, as they did in 2016, and has been tightening up their grip in this state, but I don't see this state fundamentally shifting too far to the left just because of Donald Trump. Arizona went from being a red state in 2016 to its expected state to be a blue state. Colorado went from lean to possibly likely or safe. Georgia went from lean Republican to toss and possibly tilt Democrat, depending on who's ahead in the polls. Nevada has always been a Democratic state. History tells us that it'll probably stay that way, and also the margin hasn't changed too much. The margin has changed, however, in Colorado. We'll talk about New Mexico when we actually get to it. So New Hampshire is the next state. I also think New Hampshire has also stayed around the same. When we're talking about the margin from 2012 to 2016, New Hampshire definitely has moved in favor of the right. I will say that Donald Trump's appeal to the Northeast definitely was able to almost trounce Hillary Clinton in some of these states, but overall New Hampshire, I think, has always been a swing state, always been close. Just Donald Trump was able to move it a little bit further to the right, but I definitely think that Joe Biden is going to absolutely carry New Hampshire. I don't think that this trend will hold, but always been a swing state, whereas the Rust Belt, you can't say that. The Rust Belt hasn't always been a swing state. Obama absolutely obliterated, some of these Republicans to a point where they weren't even contesting the state. I understand New Hampshire's margins may have seemed like that, but the Republican Party, much like Nevada, for whatever reason, wanted to continue to target those 4 electoral votes and those 6 electoral votes, which are really inconsequential when we take a look at the map overall. But whatever, I'm not the one making the calls for a lot of these ads. For New Mexico, this state definitely has gotten a little bit bluer, but it was a 9-point margin of victory for Clinton. Really much didn't change from 2012. So I would say New Mexico, whatever, moved slightly rightward, but Donald Trump in terms of his exciting minority voters, absolutely moved this state to the left, and only 2018 and special elections proved that. So moving over to North Carolina, Donald Trump was able to actually move this state rightward in terms of the 2012 margin, but it also was a Republican state in 2012. Honestly think that North Carolina has always been a tilt or lean Republican state. I don't think much has changed. I really don't. Looking at where Mitt Romney and Donald Trump won, they roughly won in the same areas. It was just Donald Trump was able to have a larger margin of victory, but regardless, this state, I think, stays the same. So moving past North Carolina, we have Ohio. Absolutely, Ohio definitely moved to the right. Same reason as Iowa, same reason as this entire region, definitely moved to the right. Pennsylvania I already characterized. Texas, however, has moving from right to left. Looking at the state of Texas itself, it has narrowed up pretty significantly. From what was a 16-point margin for Mitt Romney, went down to a 9-point margin for Donald Trump, which went down to a 2-point margin for Ted Cruz. In fact, Texas I actually would characterize as a likely Democratic state in terms of how much bluer it's gotten just based off of the data that we're seeing in this state, how competitive it is compared to 4 years ago. It's a 13-point swing. Based off the polling data on Election Day 2016, 12 points up for Donald Trump. Biden leads by roughly a percentage point. So Texas with a 13-point swing, I definitely could characterize this as a likely Democratic state in this map itself. Then the final 2 states are Virginia and Wisconsin. I actually think Virginia has gotten a tad bit bluer. It's not enough to actually it is enough to actually fundamentally change politics in Virginia forever. But you also have to realize that Virginia was already a blue state from 2016. So we're not seeing too drastic of a shift from what we already expected in this state. And the last state is the state of Wisconsin, which I've already characterized. And then Utah absolutely got bluer. See, the reason why Utah got bluer is because Donald Trump is not liked by too many of these, I guess you could say Romney and McCain voters. Romney ran up the numbers in this state. It was his largest margin of victory, 75% to 25%, one of the most lopsided percentages besides the District of Columbia in 2012. And that largely had to do with the fact that Mitt Romney is Mormon. Did very well in this state, actually moved from Massachusetts to run in the United States Senate in Utah in 2018 and won. He's a senator serving from a state that he only owned a home in. I mean, only owned a home in seems surprising, but he's also rich. So you have to realize that isn't too unexpected. He was the governor of Massachusetts, and now he's a senator from Utah. And he's actually really loved by the people here, enough so that his lack of endorsement for Donald Trump moved a lot of voters over into Evan McMullin. Evan McMullin got 21% of the vote here. Donald Trump only got 48% compared to 75% in 2012. And Mitt Romney not endorsing Donald Trump and possibly even endorsing Joe Biden could dramatically improve his chances there. Not enough to maybe win, but also make it somewhat competitive that the Democrats actually might fund some money into this state. So Utah definitely got bluer. The rest of this map, we see where a lot of the blue characterization is coming from, this entire southern region, and then up in the Northeast and the Rust Belt area, Donald Trump did much better in than previous Republicans. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. In the bottom left of the screen, there is also a Discord link that you can go ahead and join, and then a playlist that you can watch for my 2020 election videos, and then a video that's tailored towards your interests. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.